January 22nd, 2026 is Chosen Family Day. As we think about our chosen families, we think about the necessity of finding loved ones that we trust at all things and with all things. As we look at our LGBTQI plus communities, we have many friends and siblings who have been disowned by their families because of discovering their true identities and identity and love. We think about those lost souls that just need someone to love them and to hold their hands as they're journeying through these new uncharted waters of their life to find peace and comfort in the wholeness of their identities. Our families are not always our birth parents. They're not always our birth siblings. Sometimes our family is the ones who step forward to love us at all costs. The ones who step forward to hold our hands with no judgment. Our families take on different meanings, and through finding these chosen families, we have dear friends who find peace where it's most needed. It is shared that an individual dealing with going through their identity journeys, that the chances of suicide are lost due to depression is lessened the more individuals in their lives that they have that are willing to be in conversation and to care for them. As we think about lowering these statistics, that comes through finding those chosen family members who are willing to love them when their own families decided to not. Today, on January 22nd, we celebrate the chosen families that bring hopes to others, and they bring hope so much that they can find love, not just for themselves, but from a community that loves them for who they truly are. We're all complex individuals, where one person sees a challenge, another person looks at that same person and sees hope. Sometimes the things that we battle the most, that brings us strength, and even things that bring us moments of weakness, are things that can be used to touch others' lives. When we look in the mirror, it's hard to see what's really there. Thankfully that we are all beautiful creations in the being that is God, but that beauty is not always the most visible thing. We see the shortcomings. We see the things that we struggle against. Sometimes those mirrors reflect things that aren't truly ourselves, but we see them in ourselves because of our worries. There was words that were shared at the moments of Christ's baptism that is very important for us all to remember. This is my child with whom I'm well pleased. When we can look at ourselves for the blessings that God has made for us, we don't see the shortcomings anymore, but hopefully we see what other people see, the things that inspire them, the things that push them to try harder because they've seen us do the same. Today I ask that we not look at our limits, but see our limits as stepping stones to growth. And through living in that growth, we can help others find peace through growing as well. A few years ago, I went on a journey of going to places that proclaimed to be all-inclusive areas. Places that held no judgment over race, creed, sexuality. I wanted to find a place that I could truly say embodied an image that all were truly welcome. I found that during this journey of wrestling matches, punk rock shows, and the like. I walked into the La Paloma movie theater at midnight and sat down to watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The first thing I noticed was the gleeful hellos from people, even though that I was dressed in my Kevin Smith Fat Man Beyond hockey jersey and much others were more of a gothic flair. I noticed individuals that were eager to hand out prop bags and to welcome a new face into this new area. I noticed people of every ethnicity and lifestyle, the like, all welcome and being together for the same purpose. I noticed everyone being invited into the same shenanigans, being taught how to participate. In this journey of looking for a place of absolute inclusion, I finally found it sitting at the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Recently, I've been watching the world news. I've been seeing the events in the world, and I wonder of the possibility of actually having any form of full inclusion anymore. There is no safe places. There are no calm places that an individual can just sit and be themselves without worrying about governmental laws taking place to extract their civil rights. I watch people of color being arrested solely because that they were people of color. I've watched our lives in our country go back 100 years in its practices and just pushing aside and marginalize so many more. As I think about the pleasantry of being in this wholly inclusive element, I think about ways that I can recreate this all inclusivity within my worship environment. But more, I think about how to create the peace that I felt on that evening at the La Paloma Theater at midnight, watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show. There is so much that is not peaceful. There's so much that's out of rest at this time. And we need to be individuals willing to create openness and peace. I have a friend who is quite brave about having cross divide conversations with individuals. He's very open about having conversations with people who present themselves to be uber conservative, to share about his journey as an LGBTQIA plus individual, and to be in conversation with those who have strong disagreements with them. Recently, in a conversation that he had, he shared with me that the individual that he was speaking with shared how compassionate he was and gave a really just sincere compliment of his compassion. In our conversation, as he shared this with me, he said it dawned on him that his liberal friends very rarely compliment him for his compassion. He realized that is because within his liberal community, compassion is expected. It's something that we aim for. It's something that we strive to share with others. And he realized, this dear friend who shared with him the meaningfulness of his compassion, was so grateful because it's very rare within that individual's more conservative journey that they experience compassion. I noticed this in so many different ways. The extraction of compassion for an individual, because we take the humanity out of the human individual so that people can focus on a hurt or an idea and never have to deal with the humanity of the person. Many times we hear, what is a sin? Many times we hear information about what is being harmfully done. We hear name calling. We hear dehumanizing language. And it extracts the compassion of dealing with another within their humanity. I'm quite pleased to know this dear friend, and I was quite pleased as he discovered it is his quest of sharing compassion that has made him a different element in the lives of those that he's willing to have conversations with. No matter what political idea, it is his journey to have true conversations and to show compassion in such a way that it restores humanity. Been reflecting on Batman today, and especially two renditions that I hold close to my heart. One of those is Batman the Animated Series that Kevin Conroy voiced Batman. In that series, his catchphrase was, "I am the vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman." Recently, I watched at the right moment, at the right time, The Batman, the Robert Pattinson rendition of the stories of The Dark Knight. In that movie, it represented this phrase that Kevin Conroy shared in Batman the Animated Series and showed the troubles it could create. "I am the vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman." Within this movie, Batman himself has to deal with numerous mobs of people who pretend to be him while uttering the phrase, "I am vengeance." Throughout this movie, Batman has to work through that. One of the things that we see the Batman do is shift that phrase from "I am vengeance" and visually display to others that the Batman is hope. There's a very beautiful picture that I have on my phone from the end of the movie. Gotham City is flooded by the main villains, and there's this image of Batman leading people out of a major coliseum in Gotham City while holding up a flare and being a light for others to follow. That picture shifts the imagery of "I am vengeance" to "I am a leader of hope." I've seen "I am vengeance" overrun the streets of Minnesota. I have seen "I am vengeance" overrun politics. I have seen vengeance overrun the marginalized and displaced. I have seen "I am vengeance" hurt persons of color and our LGBTQIA plus siblings. I hope that we can shift things as the Robert Pattinson imagery in The Batman has. We need to step away from "I am vengeance" and become people that are willing to display "I am hope." With great love towards Robert Pattinson, with great love to Kevin Conroy. The Batman animated series is one of my favorites, and I mean no harm towards Kevin Conroy. But the way that imagery was displayed in this movie and the way we see it in the world, we need to become people that are images of hope. My time in life as an LGBTQIA plus advocate, I run into a conversation that links into a strategy that I see very conservative people do. The conversation is this. I get asked the question, why do I talk about sex so much? I could understand things, but what happens in the bedroom should stay in the bedroom. The conversation or the questions usually evolve around that way. But through the conservative mindset, switching things into an action and taking it away from the person makes it easier to dislike actions, but say that you like a person. For me, that's never been the case, but it has always linked into one statement that I completely disagree with. And that statement is, hate the sin and love the sinner. In reality, when I have conversations, I am never talking about sex. When I have LGBTQIA plus conversations, I am not talking about sexual activity. For me, it is and has always been, and for our LGBTQIA plus siblings who reach out and fight for their own rights and their identities, they are, in fact, fighting for their identities. So when you distract, when you take away, when you extract the actions, the force of the actions, you have to deal with the person. But I see in so many different ways when people say, if you just followed the laws, if you didn't go out on the streets and protest, making things about rules and bylines and extracting the necessity of looking at the person. I see the conservative base trying to make it so that they can live within their own prejudices without truly accepting that all of these things has to do with a person. As I watch what's happening with ICE raids in Minnesota and has been happening all around this country, I see this necessity of trying to hold on close to rules and bylaws that they forget about looking at the person. These are all things that Christ fought against with the Pharisees and the temples, trying to pull things around away from the person as Christ tried to push them back to acknowledging humanity. I hope that we all have a place to look at the humanity of everything we deal with so that we can care for dear friends and not hurt them.